Hi, I'm Kimberly Washburn, Curator of Education at the Florence County Museum. Welcome to November's Family Day at Home. This month, we're talking all about the cultural connection between cultures from around the world and the arts and crafts that they create. In this activity, we're going to be creating Kente Cloth. Kente Cloth originates in Ghana with the Ashanti people. Kente cloth is traditionally woven by the men in the Ashanti tribe. Let's get started by gathering a few things from your Family Day at Home kit. You're going to need your paper strips. We have 6 pieces of each color that are small strips and large strips with 4 of each color as well. So you should have 5 different colors of strips of various sizes. Kente cloth is traditionally woven on a loom using thread or fiber. We're going to be creating a paper version of Kente cloth today that will help remind us of the tradition of the Ashanti people. We're going to begin by choosing one color of our short strips. So it doesn't matter which color you choose, it's up to you. I'm going to start with my short red strip. Then I'm going to take my long strips of paper and I'm going to lay them out along that red strip. So, just like this. I'm also going to take my other color, my second color of long strips, and I'm going to put those in between the strips that I've created. Now, I want to begin and end with the same color of strips. So I'll have one left over, and that's perfectly correct. That's just right. Now, what I'm going to do is glue these together, and I'm actually going to slide them a bit closer together so that they're just about touching. We'll have a little bit of overhang from the short strips, and that's okay too. Kente cloth is woven in very, very long, narrow strips. They're usually not more than about 6 inches wide. Those narrow strips can be sewn together to make larger pieces of cloth, but they're never woven in large pieces. So we're also going to be making a long, narrow weaving today. Now that I have these kind of arranged on my red paper strip, I'm going to just hold my hand over these and slide that red strip out of the way. I wanted to make sure that they were all going to fit. And I'm going to be using my glue stick. You need to grab that glue stick from your Family Day at Home kit. And I'm just going to put some glue on the end of each strip. Just like that. Then I'm going to make sure they're nice and lined up. Gotten them a little bit out of order here. But I just want to glue my red strip right on top. You could do one at a time if that's a little easier, to make sure that they're all nice and lined up and straight. Okay, so all my strips are glued to the red strip, just like this, and they are secure because that red strip is on top. Now we're ready to begin weaving. We're going to be doing a very simple, what we call a single weave. It means we're going to be going with one of our smaller strips, we're going to be going over and under and over and under the strips of paper that we have secured. These long strips of paper are called our warp. When you're weaving, the fabric or threads, or in this case paper, that go up and down is called the warp. So we're going to begin by just going over and under. I'm going to take this strip and I'm going to go over the blue and under the orange. Over the blue and under the orange, over the blue and under the orange and over the blue. Then I'm going to slide this piece up all the way up to the red piece. So my first weft piece, the weft are the pieces that go side to side. My first weft piece is placed. I'm going to choose another color now. I'm going to go for the color I haven't used yet. So now I have my purple piece. Again, I'm working with my short pieces. I'm going to take my purple and I'm going to do the opposite of what I did before. So I went over the blue, under the orange before. And so now I'm going to go under the blue and over the orange. Under the blue, over the orange. Under the blue, over the orange, under the blue. And I'm going to slide that piece up, just like that. Okay, so now I'm actually going to repeat that again with the green right here. I'm going to do the same thing with the green that I did previously. So I'm going to go over the blue, under the orange, over the blue, under the orange, over, under, and over, just like that. Okay. That is exactly what I wanted to do. Okay. Now, I have created a pattern here. I have red, green, purple, green, and I'm going to go back to red. But instead of weaving my red piece, I'm going to help create a pattern that will stabilize this by gluing my red piece on top. So you can either put glue on each of your strips, or you could just put some glue on your red strip, which is what I'm going to do, and lay that down right on top in position. Okay? Now, the next time that I start weaving, I'm going to be weaving my pattern that I created, but this time I'm going to weave the opposite of that pattern. I'm sort of creating multiple patterns here. And so I'm going to be doing purple, green, purple this time. If you wanted to just repeat your pattern again, you can completely do that. There's no problem with that either. But I just want to mix it up a little bit. So with this, I'm going to try to stick to what I did before. So with the purple, I went under the blue to start and over the orange. So I'm going to do the same. Under the blue, over the orange, just like that. Slide it up. Kind of get it into position. The green will go over the blue and under the orange. Move under. Like that. And then back to my purple, which begins under the blue. So under, over. Okay. And now that I have that pattern, I'm ready to add another strip of red to secure it. So again, I'll take my red paper, my glue stick, just add a little bit of glue to that and put it right on top. This creates another section of my kente cloth. Oops. All right. Try to keep your strips nice and straight. Keep everything lined up as you move along. That can be a little tricky. So now I'm just going to repeat these two sections one more time to complete my kente cloth. So I'll meet you back here in just a moment once I've finished that weaving. Okay, so I have completed the weaving of my kente cloth, and now I'm just going to do a few things to secure it. I'm going to do a little bit of trimming and show you how you can add details that help bring out the pattern of your kente cloth. So the first thing I'm going to do is lift up the ends of my strips and put a little dab of glue. I'm gluing the warp, or excuse me, gluing the weft to the warp. So that will help because in just a moment we're going to trim off all these edges that are sticking out, and that'll help everything stay in place. So I'm just lifting up the green and gluing that down. Do that on the other side as well. And then we'll flip it over and do the same thing with the purple. This quick step will save you a lot of time from your weaving coming unraveled. So we're just gluing down the ends of each strip. Okay, I did all the greens. I'm going to flip it over, and now I'm going to lift the purples and glue those to those end pieces as well. Just a dot of glue, it doesn't take much. Just keep them from sliding out as you are creating pattern. Okay, so your weaving should now be all glued together. I'm going to use my scissors to trim off all these edges that are hanging over. So I'm just going to gently trim them. Kind of go nice and slow. You don't want to accidentally cut away a part that you wanted to keep. So I'm just following the line of my warp, that blue strip of paper, and trimming it off. So all these are just scrap. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I like to look at the back of my weaving when I do this. It helps me see that warp thread a little bit better. So I'm cutting, looking at the back side. What I don't want to trim off are these little edges down here at the bottom, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. Okay, so here's my kente strip weaving, all finished with the weaving part. But when we look at kente cloth, a lot of times we see very intricate patterns woven in. So we're just going to use a simple black marker to create some of those patterns. I'm going to move my trash, and then I'll show you how to do that. So grab that black marker from your Family Day at Home kit, and we are going to begin adding some little details. So the main rule when we're working with our kente cloth and creating pattern is that whatever we choose to do to one color, then we're going to do that in every little square of that color. So for example, if I would like to put a vertical line on the green squares, then I'm going to do that to every single green square. So I'm just going to go through, put a vertical line on each of my green squares. You don't have to create pattern in every one of your squares. You can choose to just add pattern in some of them, or you could choose to add pattern in all of them. Then maybe I want to add an X in my purple squares. Something like that. And maybe a series of horizontal lines in my blue squares. So you can use your marker to create these patterns. But remember, whatever pattern you create, in any one area, you need to repeat that throughout your entire cloth. So everywhere I have green, I'm going to continue to add vertical lines. Anywhere I have purple, I'm going to continue to make X's. And anywhere I have blue, I'll do those 3 horizontal lines. That's going to end up adding a very intricate pattern to my entire weaving. I'm going to keep working on that, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, so I've added patterns to all of the different colored squares on my kente cloth, as you can see. Those little black details add some fun pattern to my kente cloth. The last thing that we're going to do is create the fringe at the bottom of the kente cloth. So you could use your black marker to kind of draw a little bit of a sort of swirly, loose fringe just with your marker, like I'm doing here. Or you could use some scissors to cut these strips into smaller fringe. Or you could even do a combination of both, which is what I'll do to show you how you could do this. Now mine are uneven at the bottom. I could cut them even if I want to, but I think I'm going to leave mine like that just because I'm going to cut them into a loose fringe, and that'll just give it some variety as well. So I'm just going to cut these, each strip into 3 or 4 strips, just cutting right up the strip. So those black lines give it a little bit of detail, and the cuts give the impression of that loose fringe. Once you've got your fringe cut, you can sort of gently manipulate the fringe so that it's not all just hanging straight. You can crumple it a little bit or just kind of bend it with your fingers. Almost done. Your cuts don't have to be perfectly straight. It'll kind of give the loose textile impression. So I'm just going to use my fingers to kind of ruffle that up a little bit so that it's not all just hanging straight. And there we go. Your kente cloth weaving is complete. Now, each time you look at your kente cloth weaving, I hope that you'll remember the Ashanti people of Ghana. Spend some time learning a little bit more about the men who weave this cloth in the Ashanti culture.